Our aim is clear, our mission is possible, and our destination is in our sights: an end to extreme poverty by 2030, a life for peace and dignity for all. What counts now is translating promises on paper into change on the ground. We owe this and much more to the vulnerable, the oppressed, the displaced, and forgotten people in our world.
These are the words of Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General to the United Nations, when the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted by world leaders in 2015. A socially inclusive and environmentally sustainable agenda that embraces even the most marginalised in society. African rural communities have been left behind in development terms because of a complex mix of social, political and environmental factors. Whilst the goals are an important milestone in development terms, the challenges and efforts required to ensure their successful implementation in these communities should not be underestimated. The Network of African Youth for Development, an organisation with many thousands of youth activists across the African continent, with a focus on rural communities, believes that collaboration between these activists and key stakeholders from the public, private, civil society and educational sector has the potential to substantially contribute to the agenda's success. During the last 18 months, country-based teams have been building stakeholder networks, identifying priorities and developing action plans for their country's rural communities. Let us listen to some of the challenges faced and actions required in moving forward.
Without security, you cannot end poverty. If you don't have peace, if you cannot sleep and you are being shot with guns everywhere, you cannot look for food. First of all, for you to have look for food, for you to have development, you need to have security and a peaceful mind. You need to have where to sleep.
I am urging all national authorities across the continent in Africa to invest in youth, contribute to the development of youth, invest in them to make greater strides in new innovation, especially the females. It is important that we empower the females. If we empower females, we will build the continent.
The corrupt nature of most of our authorities, it's a hindrance to the will of the youths to fully engaged in the sustainable development goals. And I am very certain that it's also a hindrance to garnering resources, or maybe to mobilizing resources that will, support the initiatives of youths nationwide in Cameroon to be able to target projects, target programs, and so on and so forth.
The SDGs are incredibly relevant and have huge potential to change the lives of the poor if they were to be implemented. Parliamentarians and local governments know very little about the SDGs. Systems are not yet in place. The national development plans must integrate the targets that are included in the SDGs. And so that's a policy issue. Secondly, budgets must then prioritize those things that are in the SDGs, particularly youth priorities, because most African countries are dealing with the issues of youth exclusion. Thirdly, the institutions of accountability that need to be in place, that include civil society, young people, government, academia, and business, must actually be set up legally so that there are institutions of oversight that will actually oversee the planning as well as implementation, as well as the monitoring and review of the SDGs. And then, of course, I think the last thing is around building the capacity of local governments to understand the SDGs, to understand how they are relevant on the ground, and to integrate them into their own local development plans.
NAYD SDGs is recognised as a partner for Agenda 2030 by the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. If you would like to partner with us in this exciting journey, please email help@nayd.org.